So today, lads, we're going to be talking about what is one of the most ridiculous things I think I might have ever read, to be completely honest. And it is madness. It is absolute madness. And it is a list from W Slam for the top 10 women's basketball moments of 2024. So, what were the top 10 women's basketball moments of 2024? Let me just kind of list what I believe the top 10 are. And I'm not even going to give necessarily an order. Number 1 was Caitlin Clark breaking the all-time NCAA scoring record, a record that is men's or women's, a record that has stood since Pete Maravich. That is number 1. That was the number 1 moment of the year. Number 2, you know what? I would actually probably give it to South Carolina winning in having the undefeated season, the 18 million people watching that game. I think I would give that for number 2. For number 3, look, AJ Wilson breaking 1,000 points in a season, her getting to 27 points per game. Yeah, I'll go. You can go with that AJ in that top 4 or 5. I think then obviously Liberty winning the championship has to be up there in that top 5. I think the LSU versus Iowa game has to be in there. That was one of the greatest spectacles as far as women's basketball has ever been. Purely because Angel Reese was really good in that game. LSU, as much as like Haley Van Lith was poor, but I thought Angel Reese was really good in that game. But Caitlin Clark just had one of the most picture perfect games any player has ever had, which for what was at the time the most viewed college game of all time. That needs to be there somewhere. I think what else has to be there? I think the WNBA draft has to be there just for the entire night. I think, is there any other really good playoff series? Not really. Like, I know one went 5 games, but I wasn't that high on the semifinal between the Sun and the Lynx. What other moments were there? USA, the Olympic final was great. The Olympic final, in fairness, that was great. I think, and even if you don't want to say the Angel Reese or the LSU Iowa game, the fact that was immediately followed by UConn versus USC, that just night of basketball has to be there. And yeah, they're kind of the biggest moments. I mean, the Barbie night was a huge moment for the regular season. But anyway, let's take a look at what W Slams are. So, at number 10, they have everyone's business. They, as one of the top moments, they literally just have a list of, how many people watched games. The draft, the 54 million unique viewers, which I wonder how many of them were for Caitlin Clark games, and a single game attendance record was obviously it was a Caitlin Clark game. But yeah, just that's not a moment. I get it when it's a huge thing for this year, but like that's not a moment. Notre Dame's toughest backcourt duo at number 9. Like, I'm sorry, what? As the number 9 biggest moment of 2024. The fact that Hannah Hidalgo and Olivia Moss are pretty damn good together. By the way, Olivia Moss did not play last season. So Olivia Moss and Hannah Hidalgo have played together for 13 games. And as great as they've been, they played together for 13 games. I'm not joking when I say this. Gabby Marshall, Caitlin Clark, you can maybe argue over this year we're almost as good. And I'm not joking. If you're going to talk about a backcourt, it's Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell in women's basketball. The best backcourt in women's basketball has been Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. I'm sorry, like what? Like, how is this a moment? And first of all, how is this a moment and how is it number 9? Number 8, UConn versus USC. The cover stars match. And the funniest thing is they're talking about the UConn versus USC like a week ago. Was it? Jesus, that was quite a while ago now. But like 3 weeks ago. That wasn't even the biggest UConn versus USC match. Sorry, cover stars rematch. Like, the bigger UConn versus USC match was the one that immediately followed LSU versus Iowa. The bigger of these two games happened 8 months ago. 9 months ago, maybe. Or was it 8 months ago? I don't even know. WNBA also game. Sorry, yeah. Arike going off for 34. That is one of the top 10 moments. I agree with that. That is the first one where I'm like, yeah, you know what? That makes perfect sense. What Arike did in that All-Star game is crazy. Everything about the All-Star game. USA, who everyone wanted to see losing. Caitlin Clark putting on a passing display. Angel Reese getting every single rebound. Obviously the Caitlin assist to Angel Reese bucket. Arike doing Arike things, which the phrase Arike doing Arike things, depending on the day, is either a great thing or a bad thing, because Arike just shoots anything. She will shoot anything. She'll shoot one leg threes. She'll shoot step back 30-footers. She'll shoot literally anything. Sometimes the ball goes in. Sometimes the ball doesn't. And on this day, especially in the second half, the ball went in. So yeah, without question, this is one of the moments. This could honestly be in that top 5 moments. What Arike did was incredible. The Slam Summer Classic. Like, I get it. They are W Slam. They have to put this somewhere, but like, come on. Now the top 5. It is egregious. This is absolutely egregious. Number 5, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese record-breaking rookies. And I mean this. If you want to separate and have Angel Reese's rebounding record as one thing, and you want to have Caitlin Clark, all of her records, as a second thing in the top 10, okay. But I'm just saying this right now. This is the only time Caitlin Clark gets mentioned in this. So in 2024, when Caitlin Clark broke Pistol Pete Maravich's scoring record, which was so big that the most searched college basketball player for the men's was Pete Maravich. And Basketball Reference, more people looked up Pete Maravich on Basketball Reference for college than any other male basketball player because of Caitlin Clark. But according to Slam, what Caitlin Clark did in college is not deemed a top 10 spot, but they fully believe that, UConn versus USC 2 weeks ago was bigger than what Caitlin Clark did. And you're like, oh, I had 2 million viewers. Well, yeah, Caitlin Clark played Ohio State last year. Had like 5 million for a regular season game. And it's not as big as, Notre Dame's backcourt. Notre Dame's backcourt is bigger than Caitlin Clark breaking the record. Notre Dame's backcourt is bigger than anything Caitlin Clark did in the WNBA. It's bigger than Caitlin Clark, the LSU Iowa game. So 4. Team USA brings home gold. Fine. It was a big game. They were very lucky. They were literally like a foot on the line off losing that game. South Carolina invincible was not the biggest moment in college basketball this year. It wasn't. Women's college basketball. It is in the top 10 moments. Yeah, because look, realistically, it's just another year. If not for the fact that Caitlin Clark, they would wear the team to stop Caitlin Clark in Iowa. Which, like, without question, I'll give it. South Carolina deserved to be somewhere. Liberty makes history by winning the most rigged championship ever. But again, it was one of the most viewed games ever. The fact it was rigged was a disaster, but nobody will remember that. And then A'ja Wilson's all-time season. I'm sorry, like, A'ja Wilson had a better 2023 than 2024. And I'm not saying A'ja Wilson didn't deserve MVP, by the way. I'm not. She was better last year than this year. Her team won 10 more games. They won a championship. She won Finals MVP. Even without Chelsea Gray, she won Finals MVP. She won Depoy. And yeah, her team didn't lose badly in the playoffs, and she was not outperformed. And again, like, A'ja Wilson's points versus teams below 500 and teams above 500 last year was crazy. Like, she averaged like way over 30 versus teams below 500. And against teams above 500, she was having like a couple of like sub 20 point games. It was mad. Like, Fee Collier had her number and so did Stewie. But this is not the number one. I'm sorry, how exactly was A'ja Wilson having not even her best year? And by the way, this isn't like a knock on A'ja Wilson. A'ja Wilson should have won. A'ja Wilson literally should have clean sweeped everything in 2023. I'm going to be honest. A'ja Wilson should have been MVP, Depoy, Finals MVP. And she scored more points this year. That's literally the only thing A'ja Wilson did better this year than last year. A'ja Wilson had a better 2023 than 2024. But W Slam have ignored. They have only talked about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese by jumping them together and just saying, record-breaking rookies. Caitlin Clark breaking, they've ignored what Caitlin Clark did in college. They ignored the actual biggest game in college basketball in terms of like what start. Obviously, by the end, the South Carolina Iowa game had the most viewers, but the Elite Eight game was what spiraled the viewership increase, the actual biggest game. And they've ignored Caitlin Clark's college career to put Notre Dame's backcourt and a regular season game 2 weeks ago between Passive Page and Juju Watkins. Like, what are we doing? What are we actually doing here, W Slam? Like, this is embarrassing. This is an absolutely embarrassing list. And I'm sorry, like, I'm not saying you don't need to put Caitlin Clark at number one, even though her breaking the all-time college record, it is something we may not see again in our lifetime. Actually, to be fair, if they add 5 years of eligibility, it's something we might see in 20 years. Like, it's that type of thing that it might take 20 years for someone to do it, even if they add an extra year of eligibility. Because any player that's going to average those amount of points is going to be in the men's side, is going to be in the NBA. And same with the on the women's side, is going to be in the WNBA after 4 years. Like, Juju Watkins is not even going to come remotely close to it. That is how far ahead Caitlin Clark is going to be with that college record. Like, it was the Pete Maravich. She broke Pete Maravich's record. But anyway, and even if you wanted to put, for me anyway, I don't put A'ja Wilson's season there because I think she was better in 2023. But again, I think her breaking the points record is one of the top 5 or 6 moments. That has to be there. Her breaking the single season WNBA points record. That has to be there. But like, there is absolutely no way in the year of 2024 women's basketball that you have said the most relevant players, not even one of the top 4 most relevant things involved Caitlin Clark, and you have only mentioned Caitlin Clark to lump her in with Angel Reese. By the way, I think Angel Reese by herself for the rebounding record was bigger than the freaking Notre Dame backcourt. Look, they've been great. And why is one of the top 10 moments more viewers? That's not a fucking moment. W Slam, this list is embarrassing.